What's up, filmmakers and visual effects artists of YouTube? Ryan Constantino here with Upper State Entertainment, and today I wanted to bring you a tutorial on how to motion track an actor's facial movements and use that information to drive an animation in Cinema4d. I think it brings a certain level of realism to the character movement, and it actually saves a lot of time in animation. So let's get right into it. Alright, so here is what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be motion tracking an actor's face and using that information to drive an animation in Cinema4d. A quick disclaimer here, this particular method only really works with a parametric object inside of Cinema4d. And what that means is that I've got a spline with a sweep NURBS on it, just like this right here. And each one of the points on the spline is going to be what's linked to the animation that's captured by Mocha. So in this case, what I did in order to create the mouth, when you draw your mouth, you have to make sure that you remember the amount of points and the amount of vertices that you're using for the object. So in this case, I started on this vertex right here in the upper right hand corner. That's index 0, and then the next time you click, that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So when you start that, you have to make sure that you keep track of how many points you're using for your mouth. Just so it starts at 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I recommend keeping track of this information on a PSD file or an image so you can reference it later when it comes time to do the Expresso. Okay, so the first step for obtaining your tracking information is, of course, to motion track your actor's face. Alright, so in order to do that, what you'll do is come in here and do your motion tracking just like you would any other point in Mocha. And then, of course, when you're done, you'll have all of your points on the person's mouth. Now, keep in mind that each one of these points that I'm tracking on his face corresponded to those vertices that I had determined ahead of time. So 9 points on the 3D model of Aku, and I made sure to only motion track 9 points on his face as well. So after you've gotten all of your information from all of your track points on your actor, you'll go ahead and export your tracking data just as After Effects transform data. Take that tracking data and apply it to a light object in After Effects. So pop in a light, doesn't matter what kind of light that you've got, paste your information right in there, and you'll see all the keyframes right here corresponding to that specific one. Once you've copied all of the information over from Mocha, you'll have something that looks like this. And then after you've done the face, I also motion tracked a portion of his chin. I didn't have a piece of tape there, but I realized at the last second I needed to have something to determine, the jaw movement, which would actually correspond to the teeth inside of my character. So, and then once you've done that, you'll need to export the tracking data from After Effects and get it into Cinema4d. There's actually a plugin that Maxon makes that is the Cinema4d exporter, and you can download it from the Maxon website, which I will put in the description right here. So once you've downloaded that for your version of Cinema4d, you would do File, Export, Cinema4d Exporter, and it's going to prompt you to save it as something. So you could see Tracker and save it on the desktop or something. And what that's going to do is going to save a C4D file on your desktop, tracker.c4d. This contains all of the motion tracking information linked to light objects in a C4D file. So once you've exported your tracking data from After Effects, you've got a C4D file that needs to merge with your character file. When you're ready to import your tracking data from After Effects into Cinema4d, you would click on File, and I like to do Merge because I've already got a character file going. And in this case, it's going to be the tracker C4D file that you saved to the desktop. And the first thing you're going to want to do is flip open the null object and see everything that you've done. These are all of the lights that you've motion tracked and applied tracking data to in After Effects. The first thing you're going to want to do is select all of your lights and then go down to the Attributes panel in the General tab and click on No Illumination. And that's just so you don't have any of these lights emitting light and screwing up your scene. Now the size and the scale of the movement is obviously too large if you look. So in order to solve that, what you need to do is you have to take your imported null and you're gonna put that into a null object by doing Objects and then Group Objects. And then once you've done that, you can just call it your tracker, and you're gonna need to scale it down. Now, So in order to fix that, you have to click and hold on your model mode, and then click on Object, and then you can scale it down and get it down to the size of your mask or your character. And to make things a little bit easier, I'm going to actually change the anchor point of the null object so we can scale it down to just the mouth. And of course, you can scrub back and forth and see that you've got all of the animation there. Okay, once you've got your tracked lights at the appropriate scale for your character, the next thing is to get some Expresso going in order to link each one of the global positions of these lights to the vertices of the lips that you created beforehand. In order to get Expresso going for your objects, what you'll need to do is create a null object, and then right-click on the null object, go to Cinema4d tags, and all the way down to Expresso. Okay, so you'll take your parametric object, in this case it's the lips spline, drag that into your Expresso window, and then you'll start with the very first light. In this case, I labeled them 0 through 8 inside of After Effects. Drag your light into the object, and then in a blank area over here, right-click, do New Node, Expresso, General, and then Point. So what this is doing is telling Cinema4d that, hey, we want to work with the points of an object, okay? And in this case, it doesn't know what object we want to work with. So what we'll do is we'll take the objects of the lips by right-clicking on the red area, selecting Object, and then connecting object to object. And what this is saying is, hey, we want to work with the points of an object. We want that object to be the lips object. So after you've told Cinema4d which object that you want to work with, we're going to have to tell it which attributes that we want to work with as well. So left click on the blue button and select point position, because what we want to do is we want to control where the points are in space and link that to another object. So after you've added point position, you'll need to tell Cinema4d that you want the point position of that specific light. You can do that by clicking on the red tab on your light and then going to Coordinates, Global Position, Global Position. And then you can link the global position to the point position. And then if you saw right up here, it snapped directly over to the keyframes for that specific light. So if you scrub through, you can actually see that the spline is sticking to the location of that light. So there is the index 0. Now, if you remember earlier, I told you that you're going to need to remember the point index of each one of the vertices in this parametric object. So this is 0, this is 1, 2, 3, and so on. And the reason why you need to know that is because when you go to drag your next light in here, okay, it's going to be the same exact setup as this point and this light, but it's going to use the same object. So right-click in the empty area, New Node, Expresso, General, Point, okay? And then what do we want? We want the point position. So click on the blue box, Point Position, and then we want the global position of this light. So click on the red box and do Coordinates, Global Position, Global Position. Now, when you select Global Position and you connect it to the point position and you use the same object from the lips, look what it does. It jumps over to this one. And the reason why it's doing that is because Cinema4d is confused. It doesn't know if you want this particular point or that point. And you fix that by clicking on the point attribute and then selecting point index in your attributes panel and changing that to 1. And see how it fixed it up here? And you can see the differences by clicking on this one is 0.0 and then this one is 0.1. And you can see that the animation is attached now to 2 locations. Okay, so after you've taken all of your tracking data and applied that to the global positions of each one of the lights, you'll have some Expresso that looks like this. You're going to have, all 9 of your points and then all 9 of your lights linked up to the object that you've got right there. Okay, so there you have it. Here's a character in Cinema4d in which their animation is driven by tracking data collected from a real-life actor and tracked in Mocha. All right, that about wraps it up for today's tutorial. Thanks so much for watching. If you wanted to see anything else specifically regarding tutorials on visual effects, filmmaking, cinematography, or whatever, let me know in the comments and I'll do my best to try to make them as soon as I can. You can definitely be expecting a lot more tutorials and fun stuff coming from Upper State Entertainment very soon.